When I'm walking out to the ring, I'm like, you know what? Showtime. Time to have fun. Yeah, my check ready. I'll fight somebody, anybody right here. I'm taking on anybody. I just love the action. My mom, she's like, go out there and whoop his butt. I was born as a Muslim. Growing up, people looked at me and my mama, and they're like, you know, looking at us like we're crazy. You get that dog mentality in you, you'll push through everything and get right. I found who I was. Losses can be good for you. Getting beat can be good for you.
And what about Rampage?
I touched his stomach. I was like, man, you look kind of fat. He's like, I am, but I'm gonna get in shape for you. I was like, well, you need to get in shape. This is terrible. When I win, I don't celebrate. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start losing.
Boom! I just finished with MMA fighter King Mo Lawal. And wow, what an incredible guy. He is going for his rematch with Quinton Jackson, and it's going to be a huge fight. Their first fight was very controversial decision, and Mo has been there and done that. Tonight, he talked about what it was like growing up to a single mother from Nigeria as a Muslim in the South, and how he fought through that and then fought his way onto the wrestling mat. He talked about how he got schooled here at Oklahoma State by some of the greats and how he loved to get defeated because it shows him holes in his game. And he even said to me in the chair, he said, Brian, when I win, I go back to the hotel and I order room service and I go to bed. But when I lose, I go out and I talk to my friends because I feel like I've learned something I can get better at. And that's the key to Mo. I learned so many things with him tonight. He said it's all about mindset when it comes to winning. It doesn't have to do with how much you weigh, how strong you are, how athletic you are. It's all down to whether you're going to allow yourself to break. And that's true in the cage. It's true in life. And I really enjoyed hanging out with Mo. He even showed me his grills, and apparently he's got a grill man down in Fort Lauderdale that's going to hook me up with some rose gold ones to match my watch. And if you don't know what grills are, you'll have to watch this show. It's fascinating. Mo's got a huge personality, and I think you're really going to enjoy tons of like really actionable stuff from the man himself. And we here are getting ready for a big fight because we are bringing out the latest and greatest, completely revamped version of the Business Accelerator. Yes, in 8 weeks, you can turn your passion into a business and stop working for the man like I used to about 5 years ago in banking. I quit that and I turned this passion now into a business where I can hang out with cool cats like Mo Lawal and have it support me and my family. I'd love to teach you how to do that. Our Business Accelerator is opening soon. Applications will be open at the end of February, so get yours in. It's going to be oversubscribed. We're only going to take a limited number of people, but this is real talk, 2 hours of live calls with me every single week, calling on you during the calls, making sure you've done your work and making sure you build your business. We're super excited. So stay tuned for that. And now I give you King Mo Lawal. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Muhammed King Mo Lawal, the American mixed martial artist fighting for Bellator MMA and Rizin FF in Japan. You are the former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion and Rizin heavyweight champion, and have also performed as a professional wrestler for Total Non-Step Action Wrestling. You have a rematch booked with Quinton Rampage Jackson at Bellator coming up March 31st, which will air on Spike TV. King Mo, welcome to London Real.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
It's awesome having you here. I want to know, how is London different from the dirty, dirty?
Well,
And
first,
what am I talking about for people that don't know?
the dirty, dirty South, or dirty, dirty Dallas. But, you know, you're looking at, London's just cold, you know, the weather. But when you look at the people, I feel like you see more diversity here. I like it. People are friendly, just like the South people are friendly, but it's just, I feel like you feel more realness here. I don't know, I've been here for a week, but it's hard to explain. I see people around here, people are tolerant of each other, people are respectful of each other, you know, and I like it, Just don't like the cold weather, that's
All
about
right,
it.
we'll get that changed.
All right, hopefully.
Right away. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I find that when I go to New York City, you know, I'll be a cab driver and the guy's from like Nigeria, but he wants to be American. Everybody wants to be American. Here, I can hear like 15 different languages. You walk down the street, people are from these kind of things. So I guess you're feeling that.
Yeah, because you know, here you can assimilate somewhat, but you can keep your culture. But sometimes in America, people don't like the fact that if you don't assimilate. So that's why you see people say to, like, you know, South Florida where I stay, people get mad at people speaking Spanish. Speak English. But they're from a different country. But if they want to speak Spanish, well, sometimes, you know, you have to adapt yourself. So you see more people in America learning Spanish. I think that, you know, it's good for people to keep their culture, you know, because that's what makes, you know, the more culture you have, the more ideas you see. And I like the variety as well.
Nice. We got to get you back here for a fight.
Yeah, man, definitely.
And you were training with Chisora boxing this week, or what were you doing?
I got a chance to work out with Chisora and MVP.
Oh, you trained with MVP as well?
Yeah, moving around, doing some wrestling stuff, some grappling. I actually submitted them.
Oh, yeah?
He wanted to grapple with me, and we hand fought, and then we did some boxing drills and just some light sparring, just like light touch sparring, position. But man, Chisora Del Boy is a competitor.
Yeah.
Hard nosed. I like watching him fight. He's what you call a true throwback fighter. I could place him in any era of boxing, and I feel like he'd be successful.
Okay, what do you mean by throwback?
Throwback are those guys that are hard nosed. Like Hoist Gracie's a throwback fighter. He fought back when there's no, you know, the rules were different, and there was no weight class. You know, I'm somewhat a throwback fighter, except I'll fight anybody, anywhere, any weight class, but the rules, because I'm used to them. You guys see guys like Ali. Ali's a throwback fighter. Just guys that have the old school mentality of being tough and just taking care of business. Those are throwback fighters.
Okay, and you just said you would fight right here if they got the check.
Yeah, my check rate, I'll fight anybody right here. I'm taking on anybody.
And you're fighting at heavyweight, you're fighting at light heavyweight. Who knows, you might fight Fedor, you're fighting Rampage at heavyweight. Before you fought him at light heavy, you don't mind.
I don't care, because to me, size makes a difference, but skills overcome size. And game plan, tactics, technique, that overcomes size as well. That's one thing my old wrestling coach, Kevin Jackson, told me. Kevin Jackson, he was a two-time world champion and Olympic champion. So, you know, anything he tells me, I believe in.
Yeah, and you grew up with that wrestling background. And I want to get to that, and I want to get to Rampage Jackson as well at some point. But it's funny because you're a guy that's always training. That's what I heard about you.
Yeah.
Even when you don't have a fight, you're always training. You're over here on vacation in London, and you're boxing.
Yeah.
And you're training with MVP. Was that always something that was is that just Mo?
You know what, it's me, but at the same time, like, I got that from my mama, because my mama, she moved from Nigeria to Kentucky. And it's actually Tennessee and Kentucky, and single parent. She came as a Muslim woman there, you know, and she was like, look, I'm not gonna fail my kids. They're not gonna be stupid. I'm gonna instill the values of hard work and into them. And she worked hard. She put herself through school, all that, you know, and by herself, no help. So, you know, I saw my mama do it, and I was like, I can't slack, because in America it's all about hard work or smart work. So I work hard, but at the same time I work smart. And that's what my mama instilled in me when I was young.
What's that like growing up, Kentucky, Tennessee? This is 30 years ago, right? You got a name like Muhammed, right? And you're Muslim.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. What was it like?
Well, the thing is, like, I was born into a Muslim family, but I'm not really practicing. But the thing is, I still respected, and I was born as a Muslim. Growing up, people looked at me and my mama, and they're like, looking at us like we were crazy. And people would never call me Muhammad; they call me Mo. That's why I went by Mo for so long. Only my close friends call me Muhammad, which is weird. But everybody else, the teachers, would call me Mo. I had very few that call me Muhammad, but a lot of them, I'm gonna call you Mo. And there's no O in my name. You know what I'm saying? My name's spelled M-U-H-A-M-M-E-D, not M-O-H-A. So I just stuck with Mo here and there. If you became real cool with me, you call me Muhammad. So, it was just different, but, we had to adapt.
Okay, but it was all right. You rolled through it.
Yeah, rolled through it, People, of course, in the South would try to convert you. They're like, hey, why you in Islam? Why you a Muslim? You should join Christianity, come to our church, this and that. And I just couldn't talk to him, be nice to him, but just keep it moving.
Okay, because religion's big down there.
Religion's big. It's big to the point where sometimes it's a turn off to me.
Okay.
So.
All right, people are talking about it, going to church. It's a big social thing as well in the South,
It's a
right?
social thing, but it's to the point where I remember in college, I went to Central Oklahoma State, UCO. And I remember when I sat down at the cafeteria, this dude sat down beside me, and he was talking to me. He's like, what's your name? I was like, my name's Muhammad. He's like, oh yeah, so you're Muslim? Let me pray for you. And I was like, hold on. Why are you gonna pray for me? He's like, because, you're not Christian, and if you wanna make it to heaven, you gotta give your life over to the Lord and let Jesus Christ in your heart. And I was like, so you just because my name's Muhammad, you assume that, I'm going to hell. And he's like, well, you're Muslim. And I was like, all right, well, thank you. And I just kind of just left him at there. I didn't even talk to him much.
All right, so it's heavy down there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
Okay.
heavy.
Second to football when it comes to what people do.
It goes back and forth, what I'm saying? Yeah.
And for people that don't understand the dirty, what is the South like,
Well, the South is hard to explain, but now the South is tends to be slower, but now it's growing. Like Dallas is a fast growing city, Austin, Frisco, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee. Then you got South Florida, which I don't really consider the dirty South, but then you have Mississippi, Alabama, Atlanta's growing, but it's weird because you'll see places that are very progressive, but then you'll see a majority of places that are just stuck in the 70s,
right?
Early 80s, if you're lucky, mid 90s. But time moves real slow down there.
Okay, because it's backwoods, rural, it just moves slow.
There's a lot of backwoods, rural areas, and there's also some city areas, and I feel like you'll see some towns all of a sudden turn into a city, and then you'll see some towns just stay small and just be empty, pretty much.
Okay, all right, and but the music's good.
Music's real good, especially the rap down there. You have the thing about the South is the South is strong with culture. If you think of the West Coast and I say name me a food from California, you really can't name nothing.
Sushi.
So, but that's really from Japan. You know what I'm saying? But
right.
Same thing with the East Coast. But you can say Philly cheesesteak. But down south, we got chicken fried steak, cheese grits. You have barbecue. It's just there's more culture in the South. You know what I'm saying? There are things you'll see in the South and only in the South, and they'll be duplicated elsewhere, but not nearly as good.
Okay. You seen that movie Hustle and Flow?
Yeah, Hustle and Flow.
Is that a good representation of, say, hip hop in the South or even living in the South?
That's Memphis, Tennessee. I've been to Memphis plenty of times. I was just there recently with my people out there. Shout out to the Memphis BJJ and Memphis Power Boxing Gym.
Oh, nice.
Coach Hall, yeah.
They got jiu-jitsu out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's coming up. But, Hustle and Flow is a story of a guy that was trying to make it. And you see this in the industry from a lot of people, They're trying to hustle and make it, and some people get their breaks, some people don't. But Hustle and Flow might have been somewhat accurate because in the rap scene, especially in the South, you have a lot of people that don't want to see others make it. So they'll do whatever it takes to pull them down. And that's what you saw in Hustle and Flow.
Okay.
You know, it's somewhat true. Yeah.
Right. And the music is hi-hats, big bass, nasty rhymes.
Yeah, somewhat. You got some real rappers like guys like Zero from Houston. He's a rapper I listen to, and he raps about real stuff. You got Ant Banks from Shreveport, Louisiana. He raps about real stuff. You have rappers that rap about real life situations. Then you have your trap rap, and they're the ones that talk about selling drugs and trap houses and that. And then you got your ballin' rap. Those are the guys that talk about how rich they are. So you have different genres, you know what I'm saying, within the system.
What's your favorite?
I like them all, because depends on how I'm feeling. Like if I'm just chilling, I'll listen to Zero or Ant Banks or something like that. If I'm like in the mood to get my energy up, I'll listen to like Delwin the Crazy Man, Max Minnelli or Beat King, Gator Man, just different people. So
What's your walkout song?
a walkout song is Don't Be Scared by Max Minnelli. He's a rapper from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
And Baton Rouge has that sound right now. It's one of the up-and-coming cities as far as rap music.
Okay. All right. That's pretty dirty down there, right?
Yeah, Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge has great sound. That's where guys like Lil Bootsy and Webby and Foxamillion and Mouse in the Track. I know you probably haven't heard these guys, but Webby and Bootsy are big-time rappers now.
People are writing these down right now while they're watching us. I'm going to watch them later. So wrestling was always big for you as a kid, whether it was professional wrestling, at first caught your eye, and then that was your thing, right?
Yeah.
Can you walk me through why?
I don't know why I like pro wrestling so much. I remember it was just like a fantasy. I like the combat because I like the kung fu flicks when I was young. I loved Heathcliff, he's always fighting, and I loved pro wrestling because there's always action involved. And the storylines, I didn't really care much for storylines, I just liked the action. I remember Nikita Koloff, I remember Ric Flair, I loved Barry Windham, Masahiro Chono. I just loved the action. The Midnight Express and Jim Cornette. Sting, I can go on and on, but it's just the action and just the, I got caught up in the storyline, not the storylines, but got caught up in the action and believing the characters. I believe their lifestyle to a certain extent.
And when did you actually start wrestling, or wrestling as Rampage calls it?
I started wrestling at 16. I started late.
So late, that's late.
Yeah, because I was a pro wrestling fan, but I started wrestling late.
Because they're quite different, right?
Yeah, it's way different.
You go into high school and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to break some guys' heads with some chairs and have some fun, and then you go to a wrestling practice. Can you remember your first hardcore wrestling practice at 16? You remember what that was like?
Yeah, it was rough because I didn't have wrestling shoes, so I had socks. Ooh. And we warm up, do the forward rolls, backward rolls, cartwheels, do shots. We learned we learned some of the rules. Then we just wrestled. Like the coach was like, all right, partner up with groups of 4. We're gonna do in and outs. So one guy stays in, 3 goes, and then the 4th person wrestles him, then stays in, then they rotate through. And I was dying. My shirt was all ripped up, bloody. Socks were all brown, actually black. Because we were just out there scrapping. We didn't know what we were doing, but eventually the coach was like, "All right, keep on coming. You'll get better and you'll get better." I kept on coming, qualified for state, and I went to state and I made it to the placing rounds. But I got eliminated right before the placing rounds.
Okay, your first year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So I started when I was 17. I went to Torrey Pines High School in San Diego. Yeah. Before that, I was going to this school down in Southeast San Diego, where I was one of the few white boys. Then I went to move with my dad, and it was like Beverly Hills 90210. I kid you not. Guys were rolling up in Benzes at 16 or 17, and I was like, what? So I had no friends, right? And there was this dorky kid in the back of the class, and he's like, yo, Brian, let's go wrestling. And I had nothing to do. And I was a skinny science geek, and I went into wrestling, and man, I still remember those workouts, 2 hours on the mats, the hill sprints, and it was like, man, they weren't asking you if you wanted to do it. It was like, this is what we do. And I went from a twig to my shoulder. I mean, I must have put on 10, 15 pounds of something within a few months, But I remember it as being it's a mentally different sport, isn't it?
Yeah, wrestling is all mental. Actually, competition in a sense is all mental. Because if you have it in you, you have that dog mentality in you, you'll push through everything and get right. If you have any weakness, then most likely you won't be successful in your wrestling career or you'll quit. That's how it is in competition sports, period. If you're weak mentally and you doubt yourself, you'll be losing or you'll quit. That's what happens.
You were comparing wrestling and jiu-jitsu earlier, and I thought it was a pretty interesting comparison because you've trained with both kinds of guys. Yeah. How would you explain the two differences when it comes to mentality to other people?
Wrestling is more aggressive, more offensive. It's about breaking your opponent, imposing your will on your opponent, making him kind of like, mold. You're gonna mold him. Like you're like, all right, you're strong now, I'm gonna make you weak. You kind of change them. Your things, you wanna break them down. Like somebody joined the military. You're not trying to build them up, you're trying to break them down. Jiu-jitsu is about patience, setups, small movements, and giving your opponent a false sense of security. You want to build them up to tear them down. And you see that all the time. I remember the first time I grappled, I was like, I'm manhandling this guy. I'm muscling him, slamming him, arm bar. I was like, what? Fighting it, pop, 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 pop. The guy's like, hey, I'm gonna let go. I was like, why? He's like, don't worry about it. I was grappling, my arms kind of sore, but like whatever, slamming him. He puts in a heel hook. I didn't know what it was, so I'm fighting it. I get out of it, but he let me out of it. So then, I go back with him a few days later, and he's like, let me show you what I was doing to you. And he put me in my other arm, put me in the arm bar, and I was like, he did it slow, and I felt it, and I was like, oh, tap. I was like, that's what you're doing. I was like, what about the leg thing? He put me in the heel hook. He did it real slow. I was like, okay. I was like, it makes sense. Now I see my knee and my arms sore. I had no idea what.
Your adrenaline was up.
My adrenaline was up, and when you do it slow, when the person's calm, they can feel what's going on.
Okay, all right. And now you train jiu-jitsu.
You know what? I roll around here and there, but it's still hard for me to do it because this is so. I'm more aggressive.
Yeah, you grew up on the wrestling.
Yeah, I grew up in the wrestling and too. Like the jiu-jitsu, it's great. I know stuff about it, but it's just I don't really have the patience to go out there and be on my back. I have more of an offensive version of jiu-jitsu, but I use the ground and pound helps me more than anything. Okay. I'm not out there to try to submit you. I'm out there to try to get position and throw good punches.
Right. Yeah, which you've done. Talk to me about wrestling room. I mean, you got all those guys trying to break each other. I mean, some of those must be like pits of hell, right?
Yeah.
How do they teach you to be that dominant? How do they teach you not to break?
Well, they teach you not to break by making you drill the situation over and over again. They'll have you run sprints. And here's the thing about the wrestling coaches. They're coaches, but they get your mind strong. So they'll be like, all right, we're gonna do, just say do 10 sprints. But on your break, we're gonna do unlimited push-ups for 30 seconds until, when I say stop, after 30 seconds, you're gonna run back down, go back, run down, come back and do more push-ups till I say stop. So pretty much everything they do, they're doing it to get your mind right. You might break, but the coach is like, get up, keep going, they motivate you. So eventually, come time for a match, you felt what it's like to be tired. You felt what it's like to be sore and aching and, mouth watering, bleeding. You've already experienced that in practice. So you've already seen it every day in practice, twice a day. But when it comes time for competition, you have your composure. So the coaches prepare you for that. They prepare you for battle.
Have you seen guys cry in the wrestling room?
Seen guys cry, seen guys throw up, seen guys get in fights, seen guys quit. I've seen guys do everything. The wrestling room's like, it's like the real world, except it's like Sparta. Everybody's in there, we're all warriors. And, some guys get emotional, some guys just try to stay emotionless. I remember one time when I wrestled Byron Tucker. He was a national champion from Oklahoma. He beat me so bad, I was crying, but I was sweating so bad you couldn't tell I was crying. And that was the worst feeling. I've never been beat so bad in my life. It was embarrassing because I was fresh out of high school, went to Norman, Oklahoma, and I ran into him and I went to the wrestling room early and I sat there. I was there at 7 a.m, sat there for hours, and he shows up. And he's like...
You went looking for him.
Well, I didn't know who he was. I heard about him, but I sat there and I was like, hey, are you gonna work out? And he's like, yeah, I'm waiting for my partner, but he's not here. I can drill with you. So we're drilling. I'm tired, I'm hot, and we're drilling. And I'm like, you wanna wrestle live? And he's like, nah, you're kind of green, but when I feel like you're ready, we're gonna wrestle live. So we drilled and wrestled, and we drilled pretty much for about a month. And finally one day he's like, Mo, I feel like you're ready to wrestle live. And I was like, it's my shot. It's my chance to show the world that I'm somebody. And Byron, mind you, I weighed 190 something pounds. He was 170 pounds. Byron beat me so bad. I was embarrassed. I was afraid to come back the next day because I was like, he might think less of me. But come to find out, they're like, Mo, you did a great job at Byron. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you touched his legs. I was like, what do you mean I touched his legs? He's like, Mo, he hasn't given him a takedown in the wrestling room for 2 years. And I was like, okay, now I know. And he beat me up like that for maybe 3 years. And him helping me made me the wrestler I was. I was lucky to be helped by a lot of people through my wrestling career.
They say steel sharpens steel, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain what fighters mean by that?
Well, what they mean by steel sharpens steel is when you get hard, like it's like diamonds. When you get two diamonds together and you bash them together, they're not gonna break, but they end up getting tougher in a sense. Not really, but things like you get them tougher by just the impact. You hit them, they heal. Hit them and heal. It's like shins. Like when you're training, when you're doing Muay Thai and you condition your shins, you kick things that are hard to strengthen them. And in the wrestling room, everybody's hard, so all we're doing is trying to get each other tougher. And more than anything, not physically, but it's more mental. Physically, you can only do so much, but your body can be pushed mentally.
And that's what it's all about?
It's all about mental toughness. You look at the Iowa wrestling program, they historically have a great program, but they recruit hard workers. They don't recruit the best athletes. They recruit guys that they can know that'll be competent and be reliable mentally. So they get those guys that are mentally tough and make them even more mentally tough. So you'll see guys from Iowa be down by 9 points and come back with will and sheer conditioning and mental toughness and come back and win the match.
Wow. And that's what they're known for, because they teach these guys that mental toughness.
They try to bring you in to break you down and then build you back up.
And you went to Oklahoma specifically because they're one of the best wrestling schools.
I went to Central Oklahoma because out of high school I wasn't really known. I had no credentials. I was a state champion, but I went to high school nationals and went 2-2, or 3-2. No one really knew who I was, and the coach at Central Oklahoma was like, I heard about you. I want to give you a visitation and see if you like the school, and then we'll talk from there. So I went up there with my mama, and I was like, okay, I think they might offer me a scholarship. I'll sign right now. But I didn't know you have to wait. You know what I'm saying? So I went up there and I met everybody, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to come to. And went home, signed the paper, the letter of intent, went to Central Oklahoma, and then right after my last day of high school, I paid the guy $20 to take me to Oklahoma to my cousin's house, and I was going to start training with the University of Oklahoma, which is a D1 school, because Central Oklahoma is D2. Okay. But I trained with the University of Oklahoma for the whole summer. That's how I ran the Byron Tucker. Okay. And then from there, I went to college at the D2 school that's like 30 minutes away.
And you kept training with Byron anyways?
Kept training with Byron, and there are times I'd wake up, lift weights, do the workouts for the team, go train with Byron, pay somebody to take me to Norman, Oklahoma, train with Byron, then I'd drive back for our practice. I was doing 3 days, 4 days, and it all paid off because as a true freshman, I was a starting lineup. I made a starting lineup, I qualified for nationals, I almost placed, but I didn't. The next year I came back, I was wrecking shop. I was one of the top wrestlers in the nation. I took second. Then the third year, I was still training with Byron at this time. The third year, I was the #1 wrestler in the nation, one of the top out of all divisions. I was like, had led the nation in takedowns. I was like, I found who I was. But I owe that to Byron and a lot of other coaches, Edwin Lauren, Jody Marple, Coach David James, Sean Bateman. There's a lot of people that helped me out. I can't take credit for what I've done.
Because you were considered the best in the country at 84 kgs, whatever that is in pounds. Or
Yeah,
something.
when I went to freestyle. So after Oklahoma State,
Right.
All-American there, then went to freestyle. And I wrestled Cael Sanderson, who was the Olympic champion. But I gave him a good match. He beat me. He went on to represent the United States at the Olympics. And I came back the next year on fire. I beat a guy who I could never beat named Lee Fullhart. And I made the team, beating a lot of guys in the United States. Went to World Championships and I was facing a guy named Sajid Sajidov from Dagestan. He wrestled for Russia. And I was beating him, and they gave him 1 point controversially. It was a weird call. They gave him a passivity point with like 2 seconds left in the match. And, I was eliminated from the tournament. And then I let that fuel me, and from then on, I was on fire. I was winning all these tournaments, defeating all these people, and, that was it pretty much right there.
You mentioned that when Byron beat you that day, you didn't want to go back the next day, but you ended up going back for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you make yourself go back?
Because I just thought I couldn't quit, and I didn't want to break. So I just went back and took my butt whooping like a man. Sometimes losses can be good for you. Getting beat can be good for you. As an athlete, when I win, I don't celebrate. Like when I win fights, it's only one fight I've celebrated in. So after I fought Gegard Mousasi, and that's because they paid me to make an appearance at the club. And I was there for 30 minutes and I left. When I win, I just sit in the room, order room service, and watch TV because I'm used to winning. When I lose, I stay active. I go out, get something to eat, I mingle with my friends because I'm learning. A loss, you lose because you made a mistake, or you were making a mistake that you didn't know you were making, and someone capitalized on it. So I looked at Byron like, okay, he's beating me because I'm not good enough and I'm making mistakes. So if I can correct these mistakes, I can beat him. And I just kept on trying to improve and kept on trying to evolve over and over again.
And so on losses, you get social and walk around. Is that hard?
No, because the thing is, like, when I lose, I'm like, okay. And then a lot of times I know what mistake I made. I'm like, But then when you know what mistake you made, you see other mistakes you made. So you go back and you correct it all. Like even when I fought Crow Cop, I saw the highlight, like on the screen, I saw what happened, and I knew. I haven't watched that fight, I just knew. Made a mistake right there. And then I started thinking about the fight, and I'm like, okay. And I watched clips of the fight, and I was like, I should do more jabs, do more right hands to the body, left hook would have been there, with the body kick, I should have followed it up, and I know my mistakes, so I'm always trying to pick up on things.
Okay, and it doesn't bother you because it's not an ego thing for you, it's a learning thing.
It's a learning thing. Like I said earlier, the moment you stop learning is the moment you start losing.
And you see that in fighters all the time that don't evolve?
See it in fighters all the time, in all sports. Not just fighters, all sports. If you don't make any changes, like, unless you're like Usain Bolt, who's like just a phenom, like you're gonna lose. But I'm pretty sure he's made some changes because he's lost to guys like Johan Blake, and I think he lost to Justin Gatlin. He's lost a few times, but not many. But I'm pretty sure when he lost, he's like, okay, let me make these adjustments. You have to make adjustments when you lose, because if you don't, you're gonna keep on losing the same way, the same fashion.
You're at the top of your game, one of the best wrestlers in the country. You're getting better. But for wrestlers, there's like one end game, which is the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only end game. So 08, you try out, and that's your shot, right?
Yeah, man, it was tough. 08, I was the man. I'm the number one guy, possibly in the world. I win nationals, come to the trials. A guy named Andy Rovat, who's beaten me before, we're wrestling. I thought I beat him. The first match I beat him. It's the best 2 out of 3. Second match, he gets me, even though it's kind of controversial. The third match, I think he beat me in the third match, but he should never went to the third. But he went on to represent the United States, and I was an alternate. And then I watched the Olympics. The guy that I beat, Rivas Mendershvili from the Republic of Georgia, I beat him handily, in Azerbaijan earlier. And I see him win. I'm happy for him. He's a great guy. I'm happy for him. And then I see the guy from Ukraine, Taras Danko, and I beat him before. And then I see even a weight class above, because I'm a money weight. I jump around. I beat a guy at 96 kilos, I think from Turkey. He medaled at 96 kilos, took bronze, and I'm like looking at myself like, if I went out there and handled business the right way, that could have been me winning the gold or possibly a medal. But it fueled me and helped me carry over my ambition and my drive to MMA.
Did it hurt watching all that?
It hurt, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. You know, I can't dwell in the past. It hurt, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. I didn't. So now it's time to move forward and have no ill will to anybody.
Daniel Cormier had, an experience with the Olympics. Like he had a hard time cutting weight, and blah blah blah. But he always says maybe that's a good thing. He didn't get that qualification. I think Randy Couture said the same thing. There's guys that built careers out of not winning on the Olympics. What do you make of that?
Well, it's true because sometimes, like, some people get complacent, and like, after they win the Olympics, like, you know what? I'm gonna go coach, or I'm gonna sit back. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm done competing. But then there are guys that don't accomplish their goals. Like, you know what? I gotta find another way to get back on top. And they'll look at MMA and be like, you know what? MMA is it. I'm gonna go out there and fight. I'm gonna show that I'm still a true champion.
Right.
And they go to MMA and they go out to MMA with the chip on their shoulder. And they go out there, they wreck shop. Like Daniel Cormier is doing, like Yoel Romero, like Ben Askren, Henry Cejudo. There are a lot of people out there that are successful wrestlers that crossed over to MMA, and they're doing their thing right now.
Yeah, and you could argue with Ronda Rousey, her getting that bronze, put that big chip on her shoulder.
Ronda Rousey too. Forgot to mention Ronda. Ronda crossed over, and when she crossed over in a big way.
Yeah.
She helped create a movement. Actually, not create a movement, but she helped spur and create a snowball with the women's empowerment movement. Ronda Rousey.
You were in Strikeforce with her, right? Did you know she was going to be big?
I heard about her and I saw what she was doing. I was like, you know what? She has star quality. She's well spoken. She has skills. And I was like, she could be big.
Okay. Now, did you go into MMA with that vengeance after missing the Olympics?
Yeah, definitely. I went to MMA thinking like, okay, it's time for me to take care of business. I'm not holding back. Let's do it. Because I was broke too, so I needed the money. So I was like, let's do it. I started training for about 6 weeks. My manager gets a call from Japan. It's like, hey, Roger Gracie was hurt. He's supposed to fight Travis View in Japan for Sengoku. Do you have anybody that can take his place? And he's like, yeah, I have a guy named Muhammed Lawal. It's Ryan Parsons, my old manager. He's like, Muhammed Lawal can take his spot. He goes by King Mo. And they're like, okay, what's his background? He's like, he's a wrestler. And like, fine, cool. We'll send you paperwork. Go to Japan. Get your visa. Not Japan, but go to LA. You can get your visa and went in there. You know what I'm saying? So I went there early in the morning, got my visa, got everything taken care of, and then literally about a week and a half later, we flew to Japan and fought. Co-main event. I had no idea it was a heavyweight. I thought because I heard Travis View was a heavyweight a few times, but he fought 205 as well. So I get there and I'm like, I'm fighting Travis. Where's he at? I was like, oh, he's big. A heavyweight, right? Like, yeah. I was like, so what bout order am I? Am I the first fight? Because I'm like, I'm nobody. They're like, no, you're the co-main event. And I'm like, the co-main event? I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool. What's the game plan? Here's the game plan, blah, blah, blah. All right. Can you talk to somebody about getting me some girls to walk out with me and a crown and, a robe and some other stuff, an umbrella? And they're like, all right, we'll do it for you. We did it.
No, well, I have to ask now.
Yeah.
You're known for your walkouts.
Yeah.
You got the girls.
Yeah.
They're holding the umbrella. You got the crown. You got the gold. Where did all this come from?
Well, all this came from Ric Flair is a big influence because he had the robe and he had the girls. And then I saw this mafia documentary where this guy, the FBI is trying to watch him and they're trying to watch him and trying to catch up on him and tap his phone and everything. And he noticed what was going on, so what he did was he'd go outside in the road and he had the guy with the umbrella walking over him so they couldn't really get a clear picture of him.
Okay.
So I was like, I like that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna add that to it too. And it was a good experience. Matt Lindland was there, cornering me, and
So that was the first time you did that walkout.
yeah.
Okay.
Josh Barnett wrapped my hands.
Okay.
You know, this the first punch I landed did this to my knuckles.
Did that to your knuckles?
Yeah.
So that's that middle knuckle that's all
It's
big.
it's all big. And I remember I was like,
Got
hey,
tattooed on your fingers there.
F y'all.
F y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all good.
But I remember I was talking to them. I was like, look, actually, you know, when I was getting in the ring, I shook them, like gave them all hugs. I was like, hey, man, forget the game plan. I'm gonna just go out there and fight. And they're like, Mo, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go out there and fight. Forget it, I'm here. And went out there, I wasn't really trying to take the guy down. I was trying to like scare him because I was gonna try to knock him out. I was like, look, this guy's big. I'm gonna try to get him out of there. And you know, luckily I just landed a Superman punch, took him down, pounded him out, TKO, first round stoppage. And then from there on, just had to keep on going strong.
Man, did you box before that?
I boxed a little bit like years ago, like just for cross training, but then I really boxed seriously for 6 weeks leading up to that fight. And my boxing was terrible, you know, but the thing is I landed a few good shots, but I was just kind of, you know, when I took the fight, my boxing coach was kind of nervous. He's like, hey man, why you know, you're kind of feeding, you know, sending Mo to the wolves. Because you're fighting a guy, Travis View at the time was 54 wins, 10 losses, and was riding a 10-fight win streak. And I'm making my debut versus someone, you know, like that. So, like they hadn't, you know, my boxing coach was like, hey, Justin Fortune, he was like, hey, it's kind of crazy for you to take this fight, but, you know, do what you gotta do. And I did it.
And it's in Japan and probably in front of a lot of fans as well, right?
It was big because, you know, I didn't think that it was gonna be that big, but when I get there, it was a lot of people there. It was like we're in the Saitama Arena, and it was big. It was over 10,000 people there, probably about 14,000 people there. It was big.
And that was your kickoff with MMA.
My kickoff with MMA, you know, it was fun, but at the same time, I look back, maybe I should took like a softer touch, because once you get moved that fast, ain't no going back. You have to keep moving. So I fought Travis View, who was 54-10, and I was making my pro debut. And my next fight was against, I think, Fabio Silva, who was like 13-5, who was like experienced. And then I fought another guy, Yukiya Naito, and then Kyle Moore, and all these guys had so much more experience than me. Like, you know, once you have success versus a guy that is more experienced, you can't go back and be like, you know what, now, since I beat this guy, I'm gonna fight guys 1-0. It doesn't work like that.
So you kind of wish maybe you could have had a year or two to get your base.
Get a year or two, but you know, you see guys like Tyron Woodley, like he did it the right way. He fought as an amateur. People don't know this, you know, but he fought as an amateur for a while. Because he was fighting as an amateur in 2005 while I was still wrestling. Okay. Then he made his pro debut, I think with Strikeforce, eventually like 2 or 3 years later. So he was already seasoned. Me and Dan Cormier didn't do that. We kind of just jumped in there and just was like, all right, we're fighting.
And that was a completely different MMA landscape than today.
Way different.
Can you even recognize today's MMA landscape where there's an event? I mean, I remember back in '02, UFC came to England, and I would wait every 3 months for like a Pride bout, and then I couldn't watch it live. You'd have to read about it on Sherdog or something. And I was literally like jonesing for something. I'd watch all the old tapes and stuff like that. I mean, these days, there's basically a fight every weekend, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
You got, you know, superstars with crazy things happening, whether it's McGregor or Ronda and that kind of thing. What do you make of all that?
I think that it's good and bad. It's good because, you know, there's more money to make, but it's bad because it's oversaturated. And the product, to me, in some ways, has gone down. Even with Strikeforce used to have a show a month, and those shows were good shows. And the UFC used to have a show like a month or a show every 3 months back in the day, and they're great shows. Now it's like UFC 5022. You know, even Bellator has a lot of shows, you know. But Bellator, you know, I feel like they try to stack the cards, and the smaller, you can tell when the smaller cards are, because they'll be like in a Thackerville, Oklahoma, or another place, but they still try to build them. That's why if you look at what Bellator is doing, we have a 10-pole event, which is like, we have the big screen, we have this, we have that, and the bigger venues, and then we have just the normal Bellator events where they're stacked cards, good cards, but a lot of people on the cards are up and comers, and they're trying to build these guys to make it to the tentpole events.
Okay. If you could turn the clock back 6, 7 years, what would you do different?
Probably nothing, because it is what it is. I've been in this game for 8 years. Now, actually, one thing I would have done different is I would have my injuries, because I had a lot of injuries. I had 5 ACL procedures. After the first ACL surgery, I would have went back and I've been more diligent with my rehab and been more on top of it, because after my first ACL surgery, came back and fought literally about 3 or 4 months later.
Okay, and that's 9 months you got to give yourself.
Yeah, 9 to 10 months, maybe a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you pushed it there.
Pushed it way too.
And that's typical of wrestlers, ACL problems, right?
Yeah, typical. Yeah, it's just knee problems, back problems, neck problems, but I was stuck with the wrestler knee.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Donald Cerrone, Cowboy Cerrone, once said that every time he's walking out to the ring, he says to himself, "What the fuck am I doing?" As in, I can't believe I'm doing this again. But he still does it. How do you feel when you're walking out to the ring?
When I'm walking out to the ring, I'm like, you know what? Showtime. It's time to have fun. Because I don't feel like MMA is that stressful. The only stressful part about it is like when you're waiting in the locker room, you're like, come on, I'm gonna fight, man. I'm gonna fight. Do I gotta get warmed up again? But other than that, like, when it's time to go to the cage, it's time to go to the cage. What's stressful is when you go into a different country and you have to win to get paid. And then, you have judges or referees that are from that country and you're wrestling or facing a guy from that country and you're gonna get cheated. That's stressful.
Okay.
You're
talking about the wrestling days.
Wrestling was far more stressful. Like winning nationals, you get to wrestle 4 to 5 matches to win nationals and to make $1,500. Where now I'm going to the cage and I know I'm making money. I got sponsors. I know I'm gonna get a check for this sponsor, that sponsor, or one sponsor send me product. I know I'm gonna get paid, because I signed the battle agreement. It's different, man. Like, the money is night and day difference between the money in wrestling and in MMA.
Okay. And since you put all of those hard sessions in Oklahoma and all that stuff, this is not stressful.
No, it's time to go. It's playtime.
Joe Rogan said wrestling is by far the best practice for any MMA athlete because of the relentless grind, and it just teaches you more than anything else. You agree with that?
I feel like wrestling is probably the best thing. Combat sports is probably the best thing, not just wrestling, combat sports is probably the best thing for anybody because it teaches the grind, it teaches you how to be dedicated, repetition, be consistent. It teaches you a lot of different things because these things that you learn from the combat sports, wrestling, boxing, jiu-jitsu, you can carry over to real life and help you become successful as a person.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, and I'll see you on the inside.
I called all my loved ones, trying to let them know that, texting them, and I thought that I was gonna die that night. I didn't sleep. I was just sweating. I never felt like that before in my life.